It's Wednesday, December 4th, 2024. We're going to talk about whether Donald Trump's economic boom that we've all been promised is really coming, and what we should be doing now to prepare or protect ourselves from what's coming next. Now, if you're like me, you know that there's a lot of complexity in the economic world, and particularly what's going to happen next. And here we have somebody claiming that we're going to have all the answers in one place. And I'll tell you, I think that he has some good ideas, but it's also going to bring some problems with it. And this program is really for us that are sitting there in the middle, that we know that neither political party in America has all the answers, and that we have bigger issues than any one politician can solve. Now, I was very active in YouTube for a long time, lost my channel through some administrative errors, but I'm coming back now because I think we need to get a community built around the idea of we are the answer, that the politicians don't have all of the answers, and that we need to prepare a little bit more and do more than just rely on hope in our elected officials. Now, Donald Trump coming back has got a lot of people excited. It's been fascinating to watch. People were doomsday, 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 and now suddenly are boom, boom, boom. Everything's going to be wonderful. Meanwhile, I've watched other people who believed everything was good. They were hopeful that Kamala Harris or Joe Biden, depending on what time we were in the election cycle, was going to get elected. And now suddenly everything is going to be horrible. And it's fascinating to watch that the people that align with particular political parties, and maybe that's you as well, have now seen either things are great or things are terrible, depending on whether their candidate was elected. And comment below and let me know whether that's where you fall in this. Do you think things are amazing? Maybe you think I'm off base for sitting here questioning whether the Trump economic boom is even coming. And I've got to say, with Trump coming out with his new policies, a lot of America First type things, I think he is going to do a good job negotiating some of that. And I think he's using a lot of his tariff threats and other things as negotiating leverage. But I also think he doesn't necessarily have all the answers. There's a lot of questions about how things will be implemented. And there's probably going to be a lot of shocks to the system. If some of these tariffs come online as they've been promised, you can expect that there's going to be a lot of people who are disrupted by it, right? Industries are going to change. Yes, jobs may come to America, but people that are buying stuff overseas to make products here in America and employing people in America are suddenly going to find out that their inputs cost more. They're going to have to raise their prices. They may lose competitiveness. In an extreme example, we could have American businesses that are actually forced out of business because the cost of their inputs, which are imported, may go up so much. I was forwarded a story, who knows if it's true or not in these day and era, but somebody was talking about how a particular business was not going to pay bonuses to employees this year because they were trying to stock up on goods pre-tariffs, right? They're concerned that tariffs are going to hit, their inputs and supplies come from overseas, they're trying to stockpile. So here at the end of 2024, as we're looking at 2025, rather than pay bonuses to their employees like they would typically do, they're using their money to bankroll inventory and to build up that supply so that they'll have the money go forward. Well, that makes sense from an individual business standpoint. Of course, it's not very good for those employees, not very good for their families, especially if those people were computing that they were having a bonus coming, now only to learn because of geopolitical tensions they potentially have lost out on that, right? And this goes downstream through many businesses which will be affected. Now, one big thing that might be coming is lower energy prices, and I think that's going to impact everybody in a positive way. But we have the downstream inflationary effects if we have increased production, increased stuff coming out throughout the U.S., balanced by the decreased imports. When this all gets shifted, if we're making more in the U.S., and we're building our economy locally, then perhaps we have created a better situation. But some things we just don't have a competitive advantage in, right? We don't make certain products. We just don't have certain raw materials within the U.S. We don't have certain we don't grow certain crops in the U.S. as well as other countries, right? We have a big, diverse country. We do a lot of things here, but we're certainly not the best in the world at everything. And comment below if you disagree. Maybe you think America's the best at everything. I think that's one thing that some people have long held the opinion that the America's the best at everything. I tend to take a more realistic view, right? We're part of the world community. We're great at some things. We're bad at other things. We have some structural issues, including a $36 trillion plus debt recorded, and potentially, according to some analysts, over $200 trillion in debt if you count Medicare and Social Security and some of these other promises that we've made that are unfunded as a country, right? That's a lot of debt burden. I ran the math the other day. I came out $517,000 or so per person in the U.S. That includes everybody, right? That's children, that's retirees, that's everybody owes about $517,000 if you're going to build up to pay off those unfunded liabilities to get to that $200 trillion. Well, that's a lot of darn money, and most people don't have that, right? A lot of Americans don't even have the $500 or $1,000 in their savings account, as you read about in these articles, right? There are people living paycheck to paycheck. They can't contribute their part of the $517,000. And even if you went to all the billionaires, you would start wiping people out pretty quick if you took all their money and tried to pay off that deficit, right? So we've got a massive problem looming, including the interest. And that's going to force us to keep interest rates low, which has long been a phenomenon here in the U.S., right? And you've got to imagine if Trump is going to try to manage the economy, he's going to want low interest rates. And there's already talk about him putting pressure on the Fed to potentially do these types of things going forward. Well, the low interest rates have caused some potential structural issues in the U.S. economy. Let's just take the longer view of this, understand that debt encourages people to lend money to other people. And in a functioning debt market, you are going to pay lower interest rates to secured debts. Some people are going to want that secured income coming back. So, a retiree, for example, or maybe a bond fund is going to want to make loans on a secured basis that they're pretty sure the money is going to come back. And in exchange, they're going to put the money out there. But what we're seeing is these low interest rates are encouraging everybody to move to the equity side of the balance sheet. And that's why we've got so much equity out there. We've got some Bitcoin speculation. We also have gold speculation. If you want to hear more about gold and Bitcoin and hear my views on it and have a discussion about it, let me know in the comments because we can talk about that in future videos. One of the things I want to do here is build this community again and get us talking about that, right? And where we're going with this and what our goals are. So if you want to talk about Bitcoin and gold, drop it below. But I see a lot of people going into Bitcoin and gold because they don't feel that there's other alternatives. If we had normal interest rates, if we had real incentives to lend, if we had borrowing that had true costs associated with it and that was adjusted based on the amount of risk, and there were real borrowing opportunities out there where companies could actually go out and assess the debt market and use reasonable cost debt to grow their businesses, I think we'd have a better functioning economy. But for a long time, we've had zero or near zero interest rates, especially when adjusted for inflation, and that has caused people to not use the debt markets like they could. People don't want to be lenders into a bond market and take a risk of default when they can move over to the equity market and potentially get much higher returns. And because of that, we have some disruptions in our economy. Those types of structural issues do not look like they're going to get fixed under this potential Trump boom, right? In fact, it looks like we're going to deepen these structural issues to manage this debt. And I don't see the Trump system fixing our debt issue or our government deficit issue either, right? So we have the debt, the accumulated amount that the government owes here in the U.S., and then we've got the deficit, the amount that we're adding to it each year. And I don't see these policies really looking to balance the two. Even with tariffs coming in, the whole point of the tariffs is to build the domestic economy and have things happen within the U.S. As the tariffs get higher and higher, people are not going to want to trade into the U.S. They're not going to be able to export to the U.S., which means the amount of tariffs is going to go down. So this whole idea of replacing the U.S. income tax today with this large, robust government with just tariff income does not seem like a high probability to me. Let me know in the comments if you think that tariffs can replace the income tax. And because of all this, I don't think that there's this necessary massive boom coming. I see a shift coming. I think certainly Trump's going to try to shift things. I think he's going to hit some difficulties in the courts. I think there's going to be challenges. And I think we're going to have a lot of fighting for 4 years. I think there will be some reforms. I think things will change a lot in the next 4 years, probably more change in the next 4 years than we've had in the last, say, 20 years, which may be a good thing long term, but it's going to take a while to set in. I don't think it's going to set off an immediate boom, and I think that's going to take a while to get in there. And I think we still have to look out for ourselves, right? Because there's going to be a lot of challenges in there. Some businesses are going to be negatively affected by these policies. Some people are not going to do well. A lot of government employees, and if you're a government employee tuning in here trying to get ahead of the curve, I appreciate you. Thank you. And I know some government employees are probably going to lose their jobs, and they're going to have to move to the private sector. And that's probably great for the economy long term. But that sucks if that's the way you've built your career and built your family structure around that, right? So, and those people getting moved, disrupted, changing careers, that all has costs to it, structural costs. They're going to take time to digest. And I think the reality is we all need to be watching out for ourselves, right? We need to be doing things we need to do to prepare ourselves for the future, especially with the looming debt crisis and bigger problems. So if these are the types of things you're thinking about, let me know in the comments what specific issues you're focused on, what you're thinking about, and let's build this community out. Tell your friends, get them over here. Let's start talking. I don't think any one politician is our answer. I think we have to do the work as individuals, right? We need to build for our future to make sure we get there. So I want to know what you think, what you're seeing out there, and where we're going with this. I hope if you enjoy this video, you give it a like. Consider sharing it with your friends. Have your friends join the conversation. Of course, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. I want to get back into doing these videos regularly, so that's certainly a goal. I need your help to give me the content. And also, feel free to link over with me at LinkedIn. I'm Shawn McBride. You can find me over at LinkedIn. I'd like to build that as part of this community as well. So we got stuff going over here at YouTube, LinkedIn, and we'll see where we go from there. But I think we need to get people together who are not just thinking that some magic politician is going to fix our issues, that we need to still keep doing the work, and that neither of these parties are going to fix all the issues. That the reality is, just like has long been the case, the responsibility is on us. Even with a large government, we can't necessarily depend on them to have all our answers. We're going to have to come up with solutions, and that's something we'll be focusing on in future videos here. Thanks for tuning in today, folks. Look forward to seeing you again soon, and I'll join you down there in those comments.